Respublikasi Innovatsion rivojlanish vaziri akademik Abdurahmonov Ibrohim Yo'lchiyev berdi.
Katta rahmat. Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli tadbir qatnashchilari. Dear our guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad. Maybe again I continue in English because translation may be in place, but for our guests and international community will be easy to understand. I will be very brief though, because I have another meeting, another awarding ceremony is coming up, so I have to go. However, the forum is very important for our country, our ministry, because science and technology development, actually science and technology management, is very crucial, as well as very difficult, challenging, especially when it comes for attracting investment. Science actually chews up lots of money, requires lots of money, lots of funding. Of course, it can be, there are lots of investments for science. However, the biggest challenge, as I feel, it's how you spend this money. Are you spending this money good enough? Redirecting in those places where is the priority of the country or development? It's very challenging. That's why international collaboration on these aspects are very key, important, and especially when you create some platform to fund the scientific efforts, or you really cover the desire of a scientist. You have to collaborate more, and as I told, there is a lot of investment. When the scientific communities understand the country's need, then they can attract themselves also lots of grants. Lots of grants from many international bodies available. Uzbekistan, we created a little bit also, we reformed our system so that our international collaborators, partners know. First of all, we really get rid of the 5 years planning agenda. Every 5 years or every 3 years, we announce some grant calls. Then at one time, lots of applications, more than I remember 2,000 applications, and this 2,000 applications they were evaluated in good shape or sufficient. And at the end, you have to approve the list of the projects, and they never give results. So we changed, and we right now have a new system. We announce each month grant calls with a kind of order from the government side for the product. Also, we have a purposeful projects for from the needs of the government, from the needs of local governments. Also, the initiative projects that our scientists. Several aspects will try to fund. We allocate lots of funding. First of all, the funding amount we increased by 4 times, I could say. Also, we attracted lots of international collaborations with bilateral agreements. We fund right now over 10 million dollars worth projects in 1 year. But so far, with the 10 countries, we fund equally share funding, more than 300 projects right now going on, and it's really giving very good results. Besides this, we attracted some of international grant funding agencies, also international investment funding, including World Bank. This year itself, we fund more than $5 million worth projects. Till the end of the year, another $5 million worth projects as a grant for the our scientists will be allocated. Now, more than that, next year, 5 years, we have more than 15 million dollar worth projects for science funding, and another $15 million worth project for startup SMEs funding. So, in that point, I would like to say that not only science is important to fund, also we should create the platform for marketing our scientific results. We have to commercialize our results. In that, the startup ecosystem creation of enough of kind of condition for startup ecosystem is very, very important. That's why we started already the creation of startup ecosystem, and we allocate some of funding. 15% of our funding goes for SMEs, small entrepreneurship, innovation, also startup funding. Keeping in mind that another 15% we allocate for fundamental science. Whatever we receive, in older time, one time funding 5 years for fundamental science. However, we each year twice announce for fundamental science grants, allocating 15% of our budget for fundamental science. In that also new mechanism we implemented. Any fundamental science projects or basic science projects should be submitted together with international research institutions or international bodies, international partners. With that, it's of course difficult. However, we even give a permission so we can pay wages from abroad, specialists if they work, or we can allocate any kind of funds if our researchers go abroad or do research with the international research institutions. So many things we changed. However, today we invited lots of distinguished guests who really manage international science funding, international science management. We would like to discuss with you in this forum, get your opinion, suggestions. Whatever we created right now in Uzbekistan, this platform is not perfect. We fully understand, and there are lots of rules, lots of small spots to change, and it should be changed. It's not dogma. I mean, it's not final. We can, if you put good suggestions today, as a result, I already as a government body responsible government body, I'm ready to change our legislation. And I will submit the proposal for our government and will be implemented. And I assure that any suitable new suggestions will be implemented. Why we're doing this? Even our president always say, if it requires change the law today, he said, for the sake of new developments of the country, he will change the law today. So it's a very big role, green signals for everybody. You can criticize. You may criticize, but if you give a solution, that will be good credits. If you suggest new system or new mechanism, we'll always be glad to take it and take it further in the upper level and change our system. There is several online platforms in the Ministry of Innovation and Development, including Science Portal, including the grant submission system. All steps are digitalized. Lots of gaps, however, some technical problems may occur. However, we call you everybody for collaboration. In one last point I would like to make, that government will be leading, will be the key player for scientific development of the country. And this is assured by our president. This, if we put good proposals, there will be money, and I will be assuring you right now that from the government side, we'll take all the measures to cover your needs. However, there will not be easy money. Many require that take away. There will not be. There will be new system we implementing from the World Bank system. So the reviewer of the scientific projects and submission of scientific projects will be in English in the future. We're preparing ourselves, and the reviewers will be outside from the country. In middle term, we're playing a little bit inside. However, there will be big change upcoming. We are preparing ourselves also. And again, I feel that maybe my dear colleagues also support. In this big changes, geopolitical changes occurring in the world, the government, Uzbekistan government, will be leader point for science and technology, will be major funders for science and technology innovation. Thank you very much.
Qonaqman Muhimchevich. Keyingi tabrik so'zini Shveysariyaning O'zbekistondagi elchixonasi maslahatchisi janob Alexander Shevich beradi. Marhamat. Mr. Alexander Shevich.
Rahmat. Honorable Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me thank you for the invitation and for the warm welcome. I also want to congratulate the Minister and the Ministry of Innovative Development for all the work done and for the organization of this week. Week which offers a unique platform for exchange and for action on green innovation. Innovation is undeniably an essential topic for both Uzbekistan and Switzerland, as it is for the whole world. After all, innovation, such as the internet, for example, has reduced distances in the world. It has the potential to bring people from all over the world closer together and further strengthen relations between countries. Also, in this sense, it is a great honor for me to be here today and to share a few thoughts on the topic of innovation from a Swiss perspective. I will start by saying that for Switzerland, innovation is a must. As a country that, apart from water, has almost no natural resources, we completely rely on the human capital for our life. This is, we rely on the people, their knowledge, inventiveness, creativity, and critical thinking to constantly improve what is around them. And we rely on each individual's ability to put her or his ideas into concrete action. We are glad that this has worked well for our country. In terms of innovation, Switzerland is a world leader. Some of the most innovative companies and research institutions are based in Switzerland, and in the Global Innovation Index, Switzerland is ranked as the most innovative country in the world, this for the 12th time in a row. I believe there are a number of key enabling factors that have helped Switzerland in this development. They obviously relate directly to the topic of the session, and I hope my thoughts can add to discussions at this point. First of all, it's the investment in science, education, and research. Innovation is a bottom-up process. Researchers need the space to experiment with new ideas, and with their academic freedom, universities and research institutions offer such a freedom. Research, as tedious as it can sometimes be, also needs to be an attractive career path, including for women and girls. And I'm convinced that fora like Inno Week can really help interest the youth into science and open such career paths. Secondly, bridging research institutions with the private sector. This is essential in order to put theoretical knowledge into everyday practice. In Switzerland, we have seen a strong increase in startups in the past years, often founded by young graduates of universities and technical institutes. Many of these startups are supported by more established companies. The drive and ideas of the young researchers and their knowledge about new technologies help these companies to constantly rejuvenate and remain competitive in a fast-changing market. Third, the protection of intellectual property. Innovation is usually based on year-long research. It takes time and a lot of resources, which makes prospective investments necessary. Such investment can only be incentivized when there is assurance for property rights. In Switzerland, the IP system has been historically strong, with the Federal Industrial Property Agency founded back in 1888. Fourth, policies for doing business. Together with research institutions, the private sector is a key driver for innovation. The easier it is for companies to do business, and the more foreseeable the legal framework, the lower our administrative costs, and that means that there are more resources that can be invested in research and development, hence innovation. Historically, some of the most innovative sectors in Switzerland include the machinery industry, pharmaceutical, medical, and nutrition sector, robotics and computing, transportation technology, and the energy sector. Nowadays, these industries have become key for a green and sustainable development. Innovation in these areas are needed to overcome challenges that we face, such as climate change, loss of biodiversity, and health pandemics. To give you just a few examples of innovations that Swiss companies are working on. In the food sector, plant-based proteins offer enormous potential to fight hunger while reducing CO2 emissions. The drone industry, comprising more than 80 different companies in Switzerland, provides solutions to, for example, monitor agricultural development or delivers life-saving medical equipment to areas which are hard to reach. State-of-the-art public transportation systems improve urban life and health quality, reducing pollution, especially in rapidly growing cities. And smart water meters and water purification systems are key to make the use of this valuable but increasingly rare resource more efficient. I'm very proud that in our bilateral cooperation with Uzbekistan, we are able to include such innovative approaches and products for a sustainable future. In the water sector, where we have very strong collaboration, we support the implementation of a smart water data management in the Sirvaria water supply. Together, we work on digital skills development and the promotion of IT access for the youth, including with a focus on women and girls. Vocational training, it is the development of practical skills, is another priority of our cooperation. And I'm convinced that the promotion of the dual-track education system, that means studying and at the same time training on the job, is another important pillar for practical innovation. I'm also glad that in various sectors, we see an increased interest of Swiss companies in the private sector to supply their innovative products in Uzbekistan. Some of these companies are represented here in this fair, one of them being Swiss Need Water, working on water treatment, and you can visit them at the exhibition space, and I would like to invite all of you to do so. For those of you further interested in Swiss innovation and the products of Swiss companies, I invite you to reach out to me after this session or approach the Swiss Embassy for more information. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, my profession is diplomatic. So before I end, let me make one plea for diplomatic multilateral cooperation on innovation. Innovation is an enormous source of diversity. Nevertheless, as we all know, technological developments can also have significant negative impacts. New technologies can be used as weapons to commit crimes or to infringe on basic human rights, including intruding in our privacy. To make sure that we use innovation for the good and not for the bad, it is important that countries work together and set common standards. With the increasing speed of innovation and a world that grows closer through technology, such an international approach becomes ever more important. Questions such as how to deal with the potentials of artificial intelligence or with the possibility of cloning humans, for example, need to be addressed as a global society. In order to help finding common solutions internationally, Switzerland has initiated the Geneva Science and Diplomacy Anticipator called GESTA. It screens the newest research from universities all over the world and asks the question how this innovation will shape our world in the future. I invite all of you interested in this conversation to follow the activities of GESTA. Let me close my thoughts with the following. As you will have realized, I am deeply convinced that innovation is essentially a human business. It's a human thirst for knowledge and human creativity that lie at its core. As a young country, where 60% of the population is under 30 years old, Uzbekistan is blessed with an enormous resource of creativity. And Switzerland is keen and proud to support the country in using its potential and to contribute to its innovative development for a green, sustainable future. I wish all of you a very fruitful exchange and interesting, practical, and actionable insights at this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schreiber. Keyingi ma'ruzatchimiz Qirol Abdulla nomidagi Fan va texnologiyalar universiteti prezidenti professor Chang Tony Fan Cheong. Rahmat.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be invited to speak at this Inno Week, this forum today. I would like to thank the Minister, Ibrahim, for inviting me to come here. This started, he paid us a visit at House. And as part of the big delegation by the President of Uzbekistan to Saudi Arabia. So this is a return visit. Hopefully it will be the last moment. We've been extended incredible hospitality from the host. This is only my third day ever at Uzbekistan. I've always wanted to visit. I'm a Chinese American, and so I sort of have two cultural backgrounds: U.S. and China. So for me, Uzbekistan is a special role because, as most of you know, Uzbekistan played a big role between East and West historically, and I think that's a unique advantage that Uzbekistan has. Talking about the countries, Saudi Arabia, I'm finding out, has many similarities to Uzbekistan. It ranges from the population, similar population, very young, it was mentioned before, religion, very similar, and this role of East and West, I think that's really, even the landscape, as I was flying in, there's quite a bit of desert in Uzbekistan. As you know, Saudi Arabia is probably famous for So I'm very optimistic that between the two countries there will be more development, collaboration, and as part of that, the KAUST is a university, it's a research university in Australia. So I had the pleasure to meet Councillor Sharp just now. And I know that Switzerland is one of the world's most innovative countries. I think we probably have world number one in the global innovation. You're probably too modest to say that. But I'm sure everybody here knows that. And I can speak from first-hand experience. We have finished with the council. And I met the president of Westminster University yesterday. To be frank, I didn't know about the university. Amazing job what they have done. And the team that hosted us are all his graduates. And now I understand. So I think there's a lot of potential. Now let me come back to the main topic of my talk today. The forum theme is on green innovation. So I think that's the topic of my talk. Yeah, so the title of my presentation, I have about 20 some slides. I was given 40 minutes, I probably use up at least 5 minutes, but 40 minutes too long to just give a speech. So I prepared 20 some slides. But the topic is universities as a platform for sustainability. I know there's some university leaders, the president of Westminster University is right here. So I speak from that perspective. So let me tell you, so my talk has several parts. The first part is I want to introduce KAUST a little bit. I assume that very few of you have visited KAUST. Probably few of you have visited Saudi Arabia for that matter. Okay, so I want to give a little introduction which puts my talk, the topic, the content in context. Then I want to talk a little bit about what KAUST is doing in the area of green innovation, in terms of our research, in terms of our education, in terms of our innovation, entrepreneurship, startups, and then more broadly in terms of policy engagement. So those are the main topics. So a little bit about KAUST. We're very young. We are in our 13th year of existence, founded in 2009 by King Abdullah, as you know, who is the older brother of the current king of Saudi Arabia, King Salman. And I think I did not have the pleasure to meet him before he passed away. He passed away in 2015 or so. I've been in the KAUST for 4 years. What I know is the vision for KAUST, you can see that here, is to be a beacon to the rest of the world. So this is the beacon. That actually is a physical beacon on our campus to revive the so-called Islamic cultural wisdom from 1,000 years ago. Okay, so this is very good. Uzbekistan, actually. In fact, let me say a word about that. I'm a computer scientist by training. The most famous name in computer science actually is algorithms. But across my building is a building named after Mr. Algoristi. Algoristi is a Uzbek from I don't know how long ago, 1,000 years ago. And there are many examples like this. So the idea is that you build this place, invite the best from around the world, it's global, to pursue knowledge, to contribute to human civilization. But at the same time, we also want to contribute to innovation and economic development of Saudi Arabia, of course, but globally. So it's very much tied to the topic of this forum. So here's a little bit, just one slide about KAUST, but let me say a little bit. So we're very small. We have about 200 faculty, about 1,500 students. We don't have undergraduates. All our students, most of our students are PhD students. We have maybe 25% to a third master students. Some of them actually become PhD students after the master. We're English-based only. I don't know how too many words in Arabic other than Assalamu alaikum. Okay. So, but we are an international community. Okay. We have, in addition to being research focused, we are in addition to the faculty, the 200 faculty, we have another 400 postdoctoral fellows. They all have PhDs. And then another 400 research scientists. They all have PhDs. So total, we have about 1,000 staff who are research staff. Okay, so that's the sort of size of our university. I have a slide later on to talk about where these people come from and so on. We are focused. We are not a comprehensive university. We have people doing medical related research, but we do not have a medical school. We don't have a law school. And so, in particular, we don't have departments. We have no departments. What you see here is that we have 3 academic divisions: biological and environmental, science and engineering, so mathematically based, including electrical engineering. And we have physical science and engineering, from mechanical engineering to chemistry to geology, and all merging. The idea is that we don't want to build too many silos. So what we want to do is to focus on the big themes that are global challenges, but are also of special relevance to the region and to Saudi Arabia. So from day one, we have 4 focus areas. Energy, you can imagine, Saudi Arabia has a lot of oil. But today, it's very focused on sustainable, renewable energy. Okay, that's one. Another one is environment. I think Saudi Arabia, and in some sense perhaps Uzbekistan, has a very challenging environment. Right? Not a desert, not a lot of vegetation, high temperature, and so on and so on. Not a lot of, okay, so that's another area. Another area is water. So, I think, not exactly, all of the drinkable water in Saudi Arabia come from water desalination. You know, there's water underneath from the aquifers, but they're being depleted like oil. And so, and desalinating water is very energy costly. That's another area what we work on. And the final area is food. So food depends on energy, water, and the environment. No food. We have a lot of water surrounding us, but they are from the sea, from the Red Sea and the Gulf. So I will have something to tell you about what we do around those areas. And in the last few years, we've added a 5th that we call pillars, and that's the digital revolution. Okay, so I don't have to tell you, there's a robot sitting out there. Yesterday I participated in a robotic young, forum. We all have our iPhones and so on and so forth. So the digital area, AI, robotics, cybersecurity, those are the areas we focus in. But also the digital technology underlies all the other technology. I can tell you, if you're in the energy field, you have to use digital technology. Saudi Aramco has one of the world's fastest supercomputer. We also have one in the house, okay, and so on and so forth. The thing on the left tells you a little bit about what we do. These are programs where our students can join, faculty work together, and people can do courses, curriculum, and development. So this shouldn't surprise you. Okay. I should also add, we're very young. We have a very flat structure. Okay. I'm only the 3rd president. My predecessor was the former president of Caltech. Okay. He came from Caltech to us. And the first founding president was the former president of National University of Singapore. He left that job to come. And I left my job as president of HUSD to come. So you can see even where the president come from is very global. We all come from university with a background in science and technology. So a little bit about where our students come from. Okay. You can see from all over the world. Saudi Arabia is about 1/3. And then that number is not like this. 10 years ago, it was more like 10%. But now we're really strong Saudi talent coming. Before cows, there was no postdocs in Saudi Arabia. So the postdoc concept was started because of cows. We are very few from, in a way, this area of the world. I mean, we don't go into the details. we need more students from Uzbekistan. We have one right now, the president. And knowing what I know now in the last 3 days, I think we can a lot more. We're many students from your navy, for example. So we are welcome. You can see people from South America. And those are the countries listed here. I think there are almost 80 nationalities, out of about 1,500 students. So, coming back to the main theme of my talk on, university as a platform for sustainability. So here, I give you a summary. Yeah. The first summary of the main points. So if I don't get to all of these points, at least you get it. So first is, I refer to that symbol on the upper right. As many of you recognize, the outer ring, if I'm wearing that ring, right here, is the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. I can tell you, as a world, we're not doing very well in terms of achieving those goals. Okay, of course, we already started, we're not doing very well. So we're a big task in front of us. The thing in the middle is actually the symbol of house. So we put them together, so it was a strong synergy. The second thing is that at house, sustainability is at the very much of the core founding principle of house. But in the founding document, we were built on sort of virgin land, and with lots of corals, mangroves, and other natural things. And our job is not only to preserve them, but also to conduct scientific research on them, so that we can help the rest of the world to also preserve them. The third point is that we want to do this using two of our strengths. One is that we are research university in science and technology. There's a lot of technical aspect to our research. But also we are a community. We have more than 8,000 people living on our place, including families and other people. We want to be a model for resource circularity, how we can be a leader. And you see a little bit of that, I'll go into that, about how we practice what we preach and what we teach as we lead. And finally, the last one is most important perhaps, because we all attend many forums on, for example, sustainability. The talk is cheap. I've given many talks in this area. So the key is to take action. And that is not very easy, especially for university. We have a special role. You see, we have research, so there are scientific, technological ideas, but even the policy and the economic and the social aspect are also important. And then, of course, we also have train the next generation of young people, and they need a sustainable world to live in. That's their future. Okay, so I think those are very important. So I mentioned about those areas. I already touched on the first one. I want to talk about education, research, innovation. These are the three things what we do. Then finally tell you a little bit about our campus, how we practice what we preach. Okay, so this is a little more about what I said earlier, that we're not doing very well in terms of sustainability. So the table on the left is a table published by the World Economic Forum. And these are the top 10 global risks by how severe they are. Okay? And they're color-coded by whether they're economical, environmental, and so on and so forth. And you see, many of these have to do with sustainability. Climate action, weather, biodiversity, and so on. Infectious disease, of course, is a big. That's not it. But I used to say at least half of these are related to sustainability. On the right is sort of a small sheet. So I guess when it's red is bad, when it's green is good, okay? So there are, I don't know, about 10 of these slices. It's climate, biodiversity. The latest thing in 2030 is that another one hits the red. So what you see in the trend is that more things are hitting the red rather than hitting the green. So as a community worldwide, we're not doing very well. So at House, about a year ago, we started to create make a commitment to sustainability on our own, and I'll tell you a little bit more. So you can see March last year, in the middle of the pandemic, we issued a joint statement. We have a goal, an agenda for this that is tied to the UN SDGs, but also the Saudi Arabia's own Mission 2030 plan. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is an initiative in Saudi Arabia that we play a role, but it's global, really. So there's something called the Saudi Green Initiative. I think it was initiated a year ago. We were in a conference, and you see there's several things, right? One is percentage of renewables in the kingdom is part of the energy mix. 10 billion trees. 10 billion is a big number. Okay? So reduce carbon emission by, as part of the global number, by 4%. 4 seems low, but it's actually a lot. And then raise the area of protected areas. In fact, right at house, right outside my front door of my house, a mangroves in forest. So those are the Saudi Green Initiative. And Saudi Arabia is taking this very seriously. For example, in the COP27, at Sharm el-Sheikh coming up in about 2 weeks, Saudi Arabia has set up a pavilion on the Saudi Green Initiative. And there's an extension of the Saudi Green Initiative to the Middle East Green Initiative. So you'll hear more about that as well. And for cows, we are playing a role in some of these. For example, in planting 10 billion trees. We have many scientists and faculty whose research areas in this area, plant biologists. We have a research center called the Center for Desert Agriculture in that. So the obvious, and we've been engaged as an advisor or consultant in this initiative. So for example, what kind of trees you want to plant? You don't want to plant a tree that will eat a lot of water, right? Because that sort of creates another crisis. How do you preserve it? Where do you plant it? And so on and so on. How do you protect them against insects, infestation, for example? There's a lot of scientific technical. So we are involved in the advisory role. So for our sustainability vision, we have a kind of action plan. So there are at least these 4 general areas. Okay? Greenhouse gas emission, do something. Water conservation, and also zero waste of water. I'll tell you what we do. Solid waste, not just water, what we do. And then, of course, in terms of government, how we make sure things happen. I will have more about that. So for cows as a university, you see, we are kind of a small but complicated organization, as any university is. We do research and innovation, so that obviously one area where we want to do. We do education, obviously, we're students and so on. But in addition, we also have operation. We are a community of almost 9,000 people. We have our own water desalination plant. Okay, just to give you an example. So we water a lot of our lawns, horticulture. And finally, we also have a role in sort of engaging the stakeholders, especially outside of the university. So this is, after a year's study, we issue a sustainability vision. You can read it. So it's broad enough, but also specific enough to capture our environment, both on the land and the coastal environment. We want to preserve and protect and restore. So these are some of the workshops that we have conducted. I recognize some people. It's too small. Anyway, let me forget it. I can tell you the role. You know, I can see that person in the middle is a German professor. He's there, actually is geo related. In the background is our facility management vice president. So he's in charge of watering the lawn, producing the water from desalination to be all involved. The person on the right is a key person in our research office. So what do we do with research in SB? We have a website. You're welcome to scan this or email us. Tell you what you are. I think one thing we have not mentioned is that we involve our students. We have a student group for sustainability. They ask the president to go, they organize their own forums. I think this is really key. Involve our students. Okay, so it's a little glimpse of what we do. We have the photos from outside our campus. That's the beacon. I see it every day from my office. Okay, so I mentioned some of these already, the action area. Let's skip ahead. Okay. So these are goals, it shouldn't surprise you. Right? So starting from number one, we want to implement the comprehensive resource circularity and waste management agenda to reassure the plan. Okay? And then second is commitment. We need to commit. We need to commit the people but also the resources, budget, and so on. And third is that we want to change the culture, change the mindset about every member of the community has to play a role. So this is in a little bit more detail about what the action plan is. Remember before we had four, but this drilled down a little bit. Greenhouse gas, water, water conservation and zero waste, but also minimize the waste, solid waste to landfill. So we're building a sort of center. We're doing that. Governance, so who's supposed to do what? For example, can a part of the university decide to do something? I'll give you an example. In part of our facility, we want to build a waste incinerator. Seems reasonable, but it may have impact on the air quality. Okay, so you gotta have the government to make sure the right hand goes on the left hand. Culture, so we involve the student, we run workshops, we invite outside speakers to speak. In fact, with the president, we were talking about one of the most eloquent speakers on sustainability is Professor Jeffrey Sachs. So he has spoken here in Uzbekistan. He has spoken at Tao's version. So for them, that will help to change the mindset. Curriculum, teach our students how to understand the world. We fund research. You'll see a little bit more about that. And then stakeholders engagement. So the next one is on education. So I only have one slide on that. As I mentioned before, we focus on those four areas: food, water, energy, and environment. So we already teach about things directly relevant. We have a center on water desalination and reuse and waste management. So now we're expanding some of these programs. We also want to offer them to outside of the gates of the university. So for example, the last page is that we want to develop professional level certificate courses in sustainability. We want to take it to the city of Jeddah, Riyadh, Dammam, and other maybe ultimately online for the whole world. So that to do that. It's not getting a PhD degree only. You see some of the things going on. Research is actually the main focus for us. We are a very research focused university. So I have more examples of what we do in the research field. So let me start by the stakeholder engagement. Some of you may remember in the year 2020, Saudi Arabia hosted the G20. It was virtual because in the heat of the pandemic. But out of the G20 came two areas that everybody agreed from G20. One is something called the circular carbon economy. The idea is that I'll have another slide on that. It has to do with sustainability, carbon. Another one is on something called coral reef restoration and preservation. obviously Saudi Arabia is the Red Sea, most of the corals are there. The whole world is worried about the coral disappearing from the globe. And then the scientists are saying, well, maybe 5 to 10 years. If we don't do anything, it will be gone forever. It's hard to believe, but that actually may happen. So the 20 environmental ministers agree on this. And they formed something called CORDAP. You can see what it stands for. And Saudi Arabia agreed to be the host. And the headquarters is actually at Council. They give grants to anybody in the world. So the G20 agreed to fund, to co-fund. Saudi Arabia take on a more lion's share of that funding. Anybody from around the world, based on scientific merit, if you're interested, let us know. Okay. It's about 1 year old. Okay. In fact, it's a coming out party, so to speak. It was this past June in Lisbon. There was a UN conference on the ocean. It was like 20,000 people. And then they had the first meeting. So let me tell you a little bit more about the circular carbon economy. So the G20 have circular carbon economy initiative. So COWS, sort of in response, we formed something we call the circular carbon initiative. It was very easy for us to do because we had many factories working on this. In fact, they were behind the scene working with the Saudi government during the G20 to develop this whole idea. So we already had proponents actually at COWS. And you can see with circular carbon, maybe not everybody is familiar with it, there are 4 R's. We reduce carbon emission, we use the carbon that we emit, we move them in the atmosphere, and then recycle it. That's the 4 R's. That's the idea. So that I've heard this from the people doing this. The word they use, the slogan they say is carbon is not necessarily a dirty word. Carbon is our environment. Every one of this is emitting carbon right now. Okay, so you need to manage it. Okay? So, to just give you an example of this, we have a research project called cryogenic carbon capture. You don't have to know the technical term. Capturing carbon, in this case, is capturing carbon from the fuel from the power plant. This is a very concentrated, it's quite a bit in Saudi Arabia. And you can see that you can capture the carbon dioxide up to almost 99.99% purity. And carbon is a valuable resource. You can use it to do other things, for example. So those are some of the big equipment that we have. Here's another one, green hydrogen. You know, there's green and gray, hydrogen, which is green, it's really green, okay? So we have a research center called the Catalysis Center. So they developed something, among others, development, how to extract hydrogen from ammonia using very little energy. So that makes it more green. And there was a display, the thing in the middle was used in the exhibition when President Biden of the US came to Saudi Arabia to visit. That thing was part of that exhibition. So Saudi is a joint project with Saudi Aramco, and they display it. So Saudi Aramco thinks it's real, they might actually industrialize it. Another one is Saudi Green, and sort of we refer to as nature-based solution. Okay? So for example, I mentioned already the Saudi Green. Another one, those are the mangroves I talked about. Right? Those are actually just right outside cows. We have there's a concept called blue carbon. I learned this. I'm not in this area myself. The idea is that the vegetation, the ocean, can be a good sink for carbon. That's really the idea, including the mangroves and the forests. Those are we do research in these areas. I've already mentioned CORDAP, so here's a specific thing that they do. Research, transdisciplinary international collaboration, scalability, and open the law. So not just G20. Okay, so here's something that I actually knew very little about before. So corals get sick when there's the outbreak at the beach, but you can give them antibiotics. You can actually give them medicine. So we have faculty who do this research. So as part of that, This factory created a probiotics village called Outside House. So you go down, you dive, and you see a village with street signs, and you can monitor and you give them antibiotics to save. So this is of course at the experimental stage, but not in the clinical stage. That's what we do. Another area. Okay, here's the last part on the research part. So some of you may have heard about the big project in Saudi Arabia called NEOM, N-E-O-M. In the northwestern part of Saudi Arabia, building a new area the size of Belgium. That's what they refer to, a huge area. A city of 10 million people. They're building the line, you might have heard about, the linear city, and so on. So as part of that development, there's an island at NEOM called Chu. Okay? And it counts, we are building the world's largest coral reef garden there. We have started already, we just started maybe this year sometime. We have divers in the sea. So the idea is, imagine, this will be, you see the scale, 2 million coral. Okay, we have a nursery, the world's largest nursery on land. We have divers that go into the surrounding area, harvest the living corals and move them, place them on the scaffolding in the sea, and have wireless transmission to monitor how well they're doing and all this stuff. It's a mega project. How's we doing? It's high risk. We think we are very confident that will be achieved, and when we achieve it, the whole world hopefully will notice. And you're welcome to come and visit, of course. And that's going to be good. We started an initiative called Climate and Livability. So for Saudi Arabia, climate is more than just doing good for the world. It's very direct. As you know, it's a very harsh environment. A big part of the country is not livable, right? So, in fact, I learned this word. The big part of the country is called the empty quarter. You look at the Google map, you see it's just black, empty, nothing other than sand and sand dunes. So, if the global temperature rise for another degree, another huge percentage of the country is not livable. So this is actually a big challenge. The problem is this, from the Saudi Arabia perspective, is that the world's research effort is not focused in this region. Probably applies to this area too, in Central Asia. You look at global climate modeling. They don't have the resolution for every area. Probably for North America and Europe, it's very detailed. They know exactly what's going on. But for Central Asia and Saudi Arabia, you don't have the resolution. We are prepared to do it. We're the supercomputer, so we want to develop this, bring in the people, and do that. And hopefully that will also help the whole region. So this is we call it climate, the new initiative we started about a year. Remote sensing. So Klaus is developing nano satellites. So we send in this small satellite and monitor the vegetation and so on. That's another project. We have a national center on climate change that's just inaugurated, funded by the government, ministry. Okay, so directed by one of our faculty. I think I'm telling you all this because talk is cheap, right? So we actually doing some of this stuff. Now all of these most of these are relatively new, but we are committed. It's a real budget, we staff, and plan. Okay, so another area, this is the last part of my talk. I want to give a little bit about what I call the innovation space, okay? Translation of technology, startups, and so on. Now, we are very young university, so we don't have so many alumni, for one thing. Okay, our first PhD graduate maybe 5 years ago. That's it. So it will take a while, but we have a few things I want to show you. So for example, this is one of the most well-known spin-off from CAPS. It's called the Red Sea Farms. Its name suggests it's a farm. But what it does is that it combines 3 technologies developed by CAPS and produce a farm that is sustainable. So the 3 founders are here. The second to the left. So the leftmost, the older person, is a professor of plant biology. So he's the one who knows plants and you know which to do the DNA genomic analysis, so which plant can adapt to seawater as a source of irrigation. Okay, so you can irrigate these tomatoes using 90% seawater, for example. Now, not every plant can do that, but you have to know the genomics of it. The person, the tall fellow in the middle, was a PhD student in mechanical engineering, not the person's a PhD. So his contribution is he uses seawater to cool the greenhouses. Okay, so you can, in Saudi Arabia, you use greenhouses to keep the heat out, not to keep the heat in. So, okay, so the person on the right, the lady, is a professor in the physical science division, and her expertise is photovoltaics. So she has a company actually before this emerged. They produce photovoltaic, so they put on top of the greenhouses, so you can use it to generate electricity, but also at the same time, it shields out the heat, the infrared. So you can put it on top of office building, but obviously natural to put on top of the greenhouse. So that's the idea. So they combine these three technology. And now, if you go to some supermarkets and some of them, you can buy the tomatoes, the cow's logo on, it's from them. I've tasted many peppers, cucumber, tomato, and some of them actually taste very good. They taste different. I mean, it's a little different, but you won't notice. Never put it and they are very far along. I would say, if you're in this series, they are a little bit about Series A, maybe a little past that. They're about $35 million funding. They were formed about 5 to 6 years ago. So that's their age. But right now they are exporting the technology to the US. They opened a company in Arizona, for example. So that's a good story. Here's another company called Gamma. Is an organic solution. So this is to minimize waste. You can see that from waste to soil. So you take organic waste like food, from cafeteria and so on, and you produce that agricultural product that you can use in an agricultural way. This is probably 2 or 3 years old, this company, probably now. And formed by mostly our students. You can see the family is very young. None of them are professors. So here's another one. This one is a little bit older, but not much more, and then maybe 5 years old. It's called Sabine. They make sensors to make cities smarter. For example, to monitor flooding. It may surprise you. There are a lot of floods in Saudi Arabia, even though water is a problem. Okay. So, for example, a house in Jeddah, when it floods, I mean it really floods. So they have monitors this and help the city government to manage it. So it's called Salim. I think that's Jeddah here. We have some wireless technology to monitor. And here's the last one I want to mention, something called polymer. Its name suggests polymer, using polymer. So the idea, of course, if you have a plastic bottle, is single use, right? It's not biodegradable. They have a way of using biodegradable plastics, basically. They can make into different products. And that's, if they can scale up, imagine all this plastic bottle, well, these are probably plastic, so much huge plastic bottle. And that would be a huge market, and it really will contribute significantly to sustainability. Okay, so the last part is on the campus. So let me just quickly go to that. I probably am out of time. So we decided maybe just over a year ago to build a showroom for the technology we developed, especially in sustainability. We just call it a smart house. Okay, so we have many houses on campus where people live. We take one of them. We still have people living in it, but they have to agree to let visitor. So you can see the kind of thing we will put in there. We have several kinds of photovoltaic. We have, for example, middle picture, all the landscaping is using our technology to cover them so that the water don't evaporate, for example. So, and then how you control the window shades, automatically. You can see the idea. This house, everything is smart. One of the things we can generate drinkable water from wastewater. I tasted it myself. I was a little hesitant. they give you a bottle, a glass, this is from wastewater, but it's drinkable. What am I gonna do? I'm the president, so I have to drink it. But I drank it, I couldn't taste anything. It was just like terrible. So that's our smart house. In fact, we're very proud that it was competed worldwide, and it was ranked number 2 under the 2022 league. That's really, for us, a small place. It's quite remarkable. Here's another thing, as I mentioned, we have a real size water desalination plant. And we treat 100% of our effluents from our wastewater. And we reuse them. We use them to irrigate our lawns, and so on. And has so far, in the last few years, resulted in a 50% reduction in wastewater. We practice what we preach. Waste management. So we have even though we're in the desert, we have a lot of horticulture, plants and so on. It requires a lot of water. We use treated wastewater to irrigate them, and it resulted in about 60% of the savings. You see. So finally, this is behind the scene. We have a computer system that monitors everything we use. Energy consumption, heating, ventilation, and you can be smart in optimizing. This is pure computer software, but it's actually very important. So the last thing I want to mention is, if you want to know a little more about cows, especially in the area of sustainability, there was a 4-part series made by National Geographic. So it was started in June. It's called Chasing Answers. That's actually, so you can Google National Geo Chasing Answers cows. You'll find the 4 and you can watch it. It's about how our researchers are chasing answers in their research work. So here's a quote made by me. A few months ago, I gave a speech in Riyadh. So that's the logo. By the way, we have all these pins if you're interested in. We can mail it to you. I'll give a few left here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for a meaningful presentation. Hurmatli aziz mehmonlar, keyingi ma'ruzachimizda bu Belarus Milliy fanlar akademiyasi matematika, informatika va fizika bo'limi akademik kotibi, iqtisod fanlari doktori Shumilin Aleksandr Gennadiyevich beradi.
Добрый день, уважаемые участники. Нет презентации поставили. Совсем поставили. Тут презентацию, которую достаточно, наверное, эту презентацию, я тогда не по той смогу рассказать, что-то показать. Уважаемые коллеги, я хотел бы в своем выступлении поделиться возможностями и презентовать те разработки, которые делаются в Беларуси и в Академии наук. В Беларуси мощная наука, и мы уже 3-ю пятилетку занимаемся тем, президент поставил задачу или ставит развитие экономики на основе инноваций. В Академии наук занимаются всеми разработками, которые есть. Я в своем выступлении расскажу только основные, которые могут заинтересовать, которые решают в том числе направлены на решение вопросов зеленой экономики. Ну, мало кто знает, Беларусь космическая держава. Беларусь управляет 2 спутниками. Один из спутников космической технологии, который сделан с полезной нагрузкой, белорусский спутник дистанционного зондирования Земли с разрешением сегодня 2 метра, хотя мы работаем над вторым спутником белорусским, который будет иметь разрешение 0,35 метров. Ну, можете представить, спутник летает на высоте 100 километров, а видит то, что происходит на Земле, снимается с разрешением сегодня 2 метра, но уже есть технологии, разрабатываются, которые будет 0,35. Где это можно использовать? Для чего использовать космос для зеленой экономики? Ну, во-первых, сегодня благодаря космическим технологиям мы обнаруживаем пожар в лесу в течение 15 минут. И, соответственно, можно быстро потушить. Заболевание леса, лес начинает, кстати, болеть обычно сверху, и очень сложно заметить начало заболеваний в лесных массивах. Опять же, это можно сделать с космосом, но и, соответственно, быстро применить технологии и их вылечить. IT-сфера. Ну, многие знают, Беларусь, как уже мы создаем IT-страну и занимается Академия наук. Это, конечно, прежде всего в медицине. Но сегодня, используя искусственный интеллект, белорусские разработки, например, по снимкам легких, компьютер ставит диагноз раковых заболеваний с точностью 90%. Ну, а на международных соревнованиях по обучению искусственному интеллекту, например, мы можем определить COVID, который проводили опять по снимкам легких с точностью 95% просто по снимку. Ну и приблизительно диагноз ли негатив делает это за 1 минуту. Конечно, это цифровые, сегодня звучало, это цифровые двойники, моделирование. Но прежде всего наша корпус, например, в Беларуси мы производим самый большой в мире автомобиль 400 ВелАЗ грузоподъемностью 450 тонн. Он может представить автомобиль, он занесен в книгу рекордов Гиннесса как самый большой, 450 тонн, железнодорожный вагон 280. В кузове автомобиля помещается 5 вагонов. Но теперь, чтобы смоделировать, это опирается на 50 на колесах, опирается на резину. Представляете, какая должна быть резина и колесо, которое опять же производится в Беларуси, чтобы просто под своим весом не скажем, не взорвалось, но и выдерживало такие нагрузки. Следующее направление – это, конечно, медицина. В Беларуси сегодня самая маленькая смертность детской прирождаемости. Она меньше, чем в Европе по показателю. Но и мы имеем технологии, которые разрабатывали это, прежде всего, например, выхаживает ребенка, если родился он весом больше, чем полкилограмма. Очень мало стран мира имеют технологии, которые позволяют спасти ребеночка, когда он такой имеет небольшой вес. Ну, новые материалы, микроэлектроника, это все тоже разрабатывается в нашей стране. Ну и надо сказать, завершить это, когда было начинать с первого продовольствия. Сегодня Беларусь производит и экспортирует 6 миллиардов продовольствия на 6 миллиардов долларов. А 25 лет назад Беларусь еще не могла себя прокормить. Сегодня разработаны и собственные семена, и защита растений, и полив, и уборка, и переработка продуктов питания. Для этого есть вся техника, начиная от возделывания почвы, трактора и до производства конечных продуктов питания. И Беларусь, например, тоже 4-я в мире по экспорту сливочного масла. Здесь миллион человек небольшой. Все это делается с наукой. Мы, конечно, завершен про Академию наук. Академия наук – это почти 15 тысяч у нас работает человек, из них 10 тысяч ученых в Академии наук. И это 70 институтов, научно-исследовательских объединительных центров, и еще около 30 опытных заводов. Беларусь открыта для сотрудничества с нашими, прежде всего, мы очень рады с нашими узбекскими друзьями, узбекскими учеными. Но, в принципе, мы открыты со всеми. У нас в Беларуси учатся за студентов, студенты из почти 100 стран мира. И экспортируемую продукцию или поставляется продукцию нашей разработки, например, Академия сотрудничает тоже с цифрой более чем с 80 научными организациями из 80 стран. Спасибо за внимание. Мы открыты к сотрудничеству. Всегда будем рады устраивать.
Огромное спасибо, Александр Геннадьевич. Hurmatli mehmonlar, keyingi ma'ruzachimizni Toshkent shahridagi Xalqaro Vestminster universiteti rektori Mirkasimov Bahrom Ravshanovich. Marhamat.
Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli forum qatnashchilari, hurmatli ustozlar, hurmatli olimlar, hurmatli rektorlar. Avvalambor juda xursandmiz shunday O'zbekiston siyosati Inno haftaligi o'tayotganidan va O'zbekiston Respublikasi Innovatsion rivojlanish vazirligi tashkillashtirib bizlarni taklif qilganidan juda mamnunmiz va xursandmiz. Yana bir bor rahmat. Endi ijozat bersanglar, mana mavzuni ingliz tilida tayyorlaganman, shuning uchun ingliz tilida davom etaman. So good morning, dear guests. Good morning, dear participants of this international Inno Week Forum. Good morning, dear rectors who are on stage. So very glad to be part of this very important week in Uzbekistan and Central Asia called Inno Week. And I was asked to choose a topic, so I thought a long time, what should I talk about today, this morning, to you that you already might not know. But I wanted to share what innovative university would look like in the realm of new Uzbekistan that our president is really pushing us to think about. So what should be the new innovative university should look like for the third Renaissance? So President Chen, for example, talked about the scholars who lived here 1,000 years ago. That's what we call the first Renaissance. And I think the success of the first Renaissance was due to scholars who worked in the area, who bridged the ideas from East and West, and the centrality was here because they were open to new ideas. I think that's a key point here, and my colleague from Switzerland would know, as a leader in the Global Innovation Index, that one of the key foundations of creating new ideas, first, is to be open to new ideas. I think that's foundational. So once you're open to ideas, to build the third Renaissance, we have to have a good quality idea. So President Chen showed a lot of developments that are built on good ideas, which in the future will be applied to real cases and to solve real challenges, to offer real solutions in the future, but based again on an idea. So first of all, we have to have as a university, as a country, good new ideas, which we can not only apply internally, but also in the future be able to export and commercialize those new ideas. That's very important. So, and there are two types of innovations when you have new ideas. One is you can sustain those innovations. So you have an idea, or you bring an idea from somewhere, and you make it bigger, better, faster, or cheaper. So that's where we sustain our innovations. The second type of innovation is where you have what's called disruptive innovation. So in economics, we call this creative destruction. So in the private sector, this happens a lot more than we think. So you have a new technology that creates disruption and takes out the old forms of technology, for example. So a good example would be my generation used computers, which took out a lot of the old technology, and then now my students use mobile phones. They sit like this. We were doing this back in the day. So that already, for example, taken out a lot of newspaper business. Nobody no longer reading textbooks or newspapers in its print form. So this generation is really technology oriented, using their phones, and that technology disrupted many industries. So once you have a disruptive innovation, it will have a ripple effect. So at the universities around the world, the university scholars would like to talk about change and innovation all the time. But as an industry in higher education, I think I heard this from one of my good scholar friends in the US. We're one of the last ones to implement innovation and change. It's very hard to talk about innovation, but it's very difficult to implement innovation in the higher education sector. A good example would be, we still use, for many, many decades, still use the same forms of delivery, teaching delivery. We still use lectures and seminars. We still use textbooks, and we still use exams as an assessment. So, yet, there are many things that have gone on and changed around the world. So, I think this is very important. So, if you look around the universities in Uzbekistan, around the world, if you have this disruptive innovation technology in the higher education sector, but how many institutions do you know that exited this industry or closed the university because of the disruptive technology that their competitors are using? Not many. Not many universities have closed their doors, and there are many reasons. There are many reasons. There are many reasons. It could be the students, it could be the brand, it could be the alumni, it could be the government agencies, and so on. But one of the latest technologies that's disrupting, and actually the pandemic accelerated this technology, is online learning. So I know many of our students in Uzbekistan and around the world have benefited immensely from online learning. So you can also now use, for example, MOOCs, massive open online courses. You can take these courses sitting here at the comfort of your home or your office and take courses from very renowned scholars at Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, Moscow State, Hong Kong, anywhere in the world, and receive their what's called micro-credentials for a small fee. So you can also build your whole degree from different courses or modules and become a professional in the field you would like to pursue as a career in the future. So I think that online learning is making online learning experience more effective, personalized, and cheaper. So that's where the change comes from. Change now is accelerated, it's getting quicker, and fundamentally faster. Also, one of the other facts is the costs in higher education have risen significantly, and this is a global trend, just like any industry. And there are many reasons for it. I'm not going to go into the details, but one of the ways to cut costs for universities is also to use this disruptive technology for innovation and focus on students. So many innovative universities around the world, and when I studied the subject, they focus usually on three things. So the first focus is students. Students always first. The second is what they teach. What subject matters they focus on? Set of courses, set of modules, and President Chen at Cal, it's a young university. And he yesterday when we met, he said, we don't have departments, so it's very mixed. Westminster International University in Tashkent, also a very young university. It's only 20 years this year, and we have more than 5,000 students, but we also try to be agile and innovative in our approach to subject matters. And the third thing is what type of scholarship they do, and whether it's applicable or not, or what type of measures they use to measure that this is a scholarship indeed recognized by their peer community. So I think this is individualistic for any university. So any university can look at itself and see what they do uniquely well. So at their own path and think about their own competitive success strategy. So the recommendation is to transform the university from traditional to innovative, or to blend some sort of innovative technology into the traditional university, always been to put the people first. So I think there's a big saying is, if you think about strategy and the business organization, it's like a bus. So bus is organization, and the destination they're going is your strategy. The people can be the engine of your bus if you work with them, if you communicate well, or they can be the brakes of the bus. So I think it's very important while we implement innovative change, it's very important to work with the people of the institution. Also, the measures we'll look at. Do we look at input measures or outcome measures? So for example, at Westminster International University, we focus not only acceptance rates or how many students are enrolled, we mostly focus on outcome measures like employability rates of students, because that's our main so-called product of the university. Where are they going to work? What percentage of our students are employed? Do they end up in low-paying jobs or high-paying jobs? What's the starting salary of graduates of our university? So those are very important outcome measures for us. Do we use, when we assess our students' knowledge and skills, do we use only exams, or do we move from traditional exams to more authentic, practice-based, qualitative measures, and make sure that students not only do well in exams, but also do well in different assessment scenarios that you're trying to measure their learning outcomes for the class, for the seminar, or for the module. I think this is very important, and I'm sure in Cal or anywhere other, they have different methods how they assess the knowledge and skills of their graduate students or undergraduate students. I think at Westminster, we're moving from traditional assessment methods to more authentic assessment methods. The third thing is price to value measures. So what do students care? They usually care about the tuition cost, how much do we pay? The parents care about the tuition cost. They care about how long it will take to graduate. They care about where they would end up after graduation, what sort of salary they will receive. They end up whether they are able to pay their debt, if they have a, for example, loan from a bank to pay their tuition, whether they're able to pay those back. I think if we increase the tuition or any other service fees as a university, do we make sure the quality matches the price increase? So I think that's another important subject. And the last thing is universities should focus on what matters to students first of all. Yeah. So this again, their career placement, their opportunities for postgraduate and graduate degrees after, because universities have a reputation, and the reputation of the university comes from not only from staff or faculty's reputation, but also their students' reputation. So I'm great and really actually proud when I hear from people like President Chin saying, your alumni or your graduates of your university are taking me around and they're good students. And it's always good to hear those actually praises from any parent or any outside organization or person. So the topic of this Inno Week was on green development. I just want to mention a few things we do at the university on green development. So as a university, we're also thinking very hard about what we do, how we can decarbonize our footprint as a university in Tashkent. So we're moving towards, just like President Chin said, we have a vision and statement on sustainability committed to the 2030 UN agenda, but also we're the first chapter in Uzbekistan that opened the Sustainable Development Solutions Network at our university, that's chaired by Professor Jeffrey Sachs at Columbia University in the US. So, and we're also working with the European Bank for Development and Reconstruction to make sure that our buildings and are energy efficient in the future. So, and we're also working on, with our faculty and different organizations, to make sure we keep raising awareness why sustainability is important. So I think I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Demek ki maddi firmalar son projelerimizi sorularımızı Milli Medya Uyuşması Reisi, Jurnalistika ve Ommaviy Kommunikatsiyalar Universiteti rektori Professor Sherzodxon Qudratxo'jayev.
Assalomu alaykum, aziz hamkasblar, dilemahlar. Endi men o'zimni nuqtai nazaridan qaramoqchiman. Biz universitet juda yosh universitet, Markaziy Osiyoda va Mustaqillik zamonasida yagona bor yo'g'i 4 milliard tashkil etilgan 118 talabadan boshlaganmiz va bugungi kunda 3,5 mingdan oshdi. Professor o'qituvchilar bilan birga 4 minglik jamoa bor. O'zbekistonda bu birinchi marta jurnalistika va ommaviy kommunikatsiyalar bo'yicha universitet ochildi. Bu yerda faqat mediaga taalluqli emas, balki psixologiya, sotsiologiya, xalqaro munosabatlar bo'yicha fanlar kiritildi va biz ko'proq o'zimizni ijtimoiy gumanitar universitet olarak ifoda etishni istardik. Men bugun boshqa mavzu to'g'risida gapirmoqchiman. Birinchidan an'anaviy mana rahmat so'z aytaman tadbirda ishtirokchilariga va tashkilotchilariga. Hozir men o'zim ko'p muhim yangiliklarni eshitdim. O'zim ham qarashlarim bor. Bu yerda o'tirganlar hammasi ilmiy martabasi bor, universitet rektorlari, prezidentlari, ilmiy darajasi bor insonlar. Afsus, bunday odamlar juda kam jamiyatda. Kam. Men istardimki, bunaqa odamlar juda ko'p bo'lishi. Endi savol qo'yamiz, endi hamma professor bo'ladi, hamma dotsent bo'lolmaydi. Yoki rektor bo'ladi, lekin juda bo'lmaganda shu olim bo'lishga intilish. Plus, muqaddas dinimizda ikkita tipdagi odam bor. Biri obid deyiladi, 5 mahal namoz o'qiydigan, ro'za tutadigan, zakot beradigan, hajga boradigan. Obid. Lekin Alloh subhanahu va taolo aytgan, menga obid yaxshi inson, qilib uni obid bo'lish ham oxirasi. Bir olim oltmish obiddan ustun deydi. Qur'oni Karimda bor. Bir olim demak 60 ta obidni o'rnini bosadi. Ba'zi do'stimiz o'zlari asli Xitoydan o'sgan Saudiya Arabistonida yashayotgan, menga gapirib berdi tarixni. Men ham uyimda Saudiya Arabistonda bo'ldim. Makkada, Madinada bo'ldim. O'zim uchun 8 yoshda juda ko'p kashfiyotlar bo'ldi. Bu yili Birlashgan Arab Amirliklarida bo'ldim, hech bo'lmagan. Va bilasizlar, bu yil O'zbekiston prezidenti ham bordilar, Saudiya Arabistonda bo'ldi. Shuning hammamiz nigohimiz Saudiya Arabistonda. Va ruxsat bersangiz, shu mandan oldingi universitetda prezident fikrlariga qo'shimchalar qilmoqchiman. Men Dubayga borganimda bu yil boshida yanvarda Expo bo'ldi. Bilasizlar, Dubayda juda katta Expo bo'ldi. Borganimda hamma davlatga kirolmaysiz. 200 davlat bor, oyoqsiz olib ketadi, juda katta. Hammasi ham qiziqamiz. Bir nechta davlatlarga kirdim. Shularning qatorida Saudiya Arabistoni. Men o'yladimki, kirganimda o'zi kirganimda qora qilib qo'ygan, oiladan qilingan. Men o'yladimki, ko'proq din to'g'risida bo'lsa kerak, Makka, Madina to'g'risida bo'lsa kerak, manuskriptda bo'lsa kerak, ko'proq Qur'onga yetaklansa yo'q, unaqa emas. Men borganda ko'rdimki, Saudiya Arabistoni o'zining 20-asrda ilmga, innovatsiyaga, yangilikka juda talpinayotgan mamlakat sifatida ko'rsatdi. O'zini rivojlanishida to'g'ri aytdilar, cho'llar o'rtasida. Madaviylar yurtdi. Hech narsa bo'lmagan. 20-asrda neft bo'lgan. Undan hech narsa bo'lmagan. Bilasizlar, shu Qurayshlarni janglar bo'lgan, ular kelishmoqchi. Chunki Payg'ambarimiz sallallohu alayhi vasallam juda og'ir hayot kechirganlar. Chunki resurslar yo'q bo'lgan, daryosi bo'lmagan mamlakat. Atrofida hech qanaqa bir boylik bo'lmagan, cho'llar bo'lgan, juda kam miqdorda suv bo'lgan. Lekin bu arablarning shuncha asr davomida juda kuchli irodaga, juda kuchli hayotga xohishga va intilishga olib keldi. Va xuddi shu muammo bu Dubay muammosi ham, Birlashgan Arab Amirliklari. Ularda hech narsa bo'lmagan. Ularda hech narsa bo'lmagan va ularga neft chiqqandan keyin shu 20-asrdan keyin Amerika Qo'shma Shtatlarining juda kuchli ta'siri oqibatida bugungi kunda Dubay dunyodagi biznes va savdo va tijorat markaziga aylandi. Endi Saudiya Arabistoniga prezidentimiz borib kelgandan keyin yanada mana shuni qabul qilish diapazoni kengaydi, chunki ular ko'pchilikdan ko'rishdilar, ko'p doiralar bilan. Bugun men o'qiyapman, Saudiya Arabistoni masalan ayollar boshqa qayramagan, boshqa aytyapti. Juda ko'p erkinliklar yopilgan bo'lgan, hozir ochilyapti. Hatto qayerdadir yaqinda biz qurib futbolchilarga bu yerda hatto xorijliklarga aroq ichish mumkin. Ma'lum tadqiqot qilmayapman. Lekin shunaqa erkinlik ham qilindi-da. Endi savol beraman, hozir to'g'ri misol keltirdilar. Biz o'lchasam, Saudiya Arabistoniga o'xshashliklarimiz ko'p ekan, siz to'g'ri aytdingiz. Ularda ham 36 million aholi, bizda ham 36 million aholi. Ikkalamiz 36 million aholimiz bor. Ikkalamiz ham juda islomga bilasizlar, e'tiqodimiz juda kuchli. Musulmonlarimiz, an'anaviy jamiyatimiz. Lekin bu men ko'rdimki, bizda qaytagi ko'proq uni radikallashib ketish ehtimoli kuchli ketyapti. Bizda ko'proq boshqa dinda biz o'zimiz juda kuchli konservatizmga olib boryapmiz. Biz taraqqiyotni inkor etish mumkin bo'lgan holatlarni arablarda yo'q, bilib qo'yishlar xohladi. Bilasizlar, agarda Saudiya Arabistoni o'sha paytdagi Makka, Madina nomi boshqacha bo'lgan. O'sha Arabiston dini dunyoga islom dini paydo qilgan bilan ajralib tursa, aynan Mavlana bizni yurtimiz olimlari islom dinini din, teologiya, islom dinini tamaddun, sivilizatsiya, islom dinini falsafa, ilm sifatida dunyoga tarqalishda bu bizdagi Imom Termiziy, Imom Buxoriy, Imom Maturidiy, Imom Marg'iloniy va ularni Imom Naqshbandiy ko'p ta'riflash mumkin. Buni arablar ham aytadi. Shuning uchun hadisni biz yurtimizda yozilgan hadis sahihda al-avval ba'dal-avval. Ya'ni birinchi kitobdan keyin birinchi kitob. Va aynan Saudiya Arabistonidan islom O'zbekiston hududiga kelganda bu yerda men aytgandek bir nechta muhim omillar sabab dunyoga tarqaldi. Ya'ni islomda Saudiya Arabistonining qanday o'rni bo'lsa, O'zbekistonda ham bundan kam bo'lmagan o'rni bor. Biz buni bilib quvvatlanishimiz kerak. Va lekin biz bugun ilm innovatsiya kelajagimizga keldik. Ma'lum bilasizmi? Din, ibodat, e'tiqod bu odamning yuragida. Bu shaxsiy narsasi. Buni o'rganish, hammani kiyimida arabcha kiyinish, menga yoqmaydi ochig'i. Millatdoshlarimizni, o'zimiz milliy do'stlarimiz, milliy ommalarimiz arabcha yoki shialarga xos bo'lgan eroncha kiyinish. Biz bugun o'z paytida ruslarga shunday taqlid, Yevropaga taqlid, Turkiyaga taqlid. Bu yerga muhim she'rlar bor. Qachon biz bas qilamiz? Bizning madaniyat tamaddunimiz hech kimdan kam emas. Chunki kelinglar, men bugun mana shu bizdagi radikallik, ba'zida juda bir narsaga berilib ketish, dinimizga bo'lgan juda chuqurlanmayman, ichkarisiga kirmaydi. Biz unga aqlimiz yo'q. Bir savol, musulmon odamga masalan Injilni o'qish mumkinmi? Oddiy musulmonga yo'q mumkin emas, olimga mumkin. Olim tushunadi, biladi, ichiga tahlil qiladi. Tushunmagan odam esa uncha kirib ketadi, o'zi uchun boshqacha qilmoqchi. Men Saudiya Arabistoni uchun katta rahmat. Ilmni hammasini eshitib ko'rib o'tirdim. Mana hozir janob rektor prezident juda chiroyli taqdimot qildi. Qarang, suv yo'q mamlakatda suv chiqarishyapti. Sho'r suvdan foydalanyapti. Biz bor shu suvimizni yo'q qilyapmiz. Sug'orib, oqizib, ertadan kechgacha uyda Toshkent uylarida boringlar, kechqurun 5 dakika kelinchakda chiqib ko'chaga suv sepadi. Ichadigan suvni sepadi. Bitta tarvuzi yo'q, bitta qotilni yo'q, bitta qatilgan yo'q, Coca-Cola suv olib qo'yadi, jumlaydan suv olib. Uyimizda qancha basseynlarimiz shu suv bor. Arablar, Isroil esa shu suvga solmas. Masalan, men yurdim, Arabistonda to'g'ri daraxt yo'q. Hech atrofda emas, o'zi Madina atrofida vulqon chiqqan, aslida bu yo'llar kirolmagan, dushman kirolmagan, chunki atrofda doim o'sha vulkanistik plazma bor. Lekin menga bu kishini gapi yoqdi, 10 milliard daraxt ekamiz. Siz o'ylaysizmi, 10 milliardni shu raqam? Yo'q, menga boshqacha tuyuldi. 10 milliardmi shu? 10 milliard. 10 milliard desa o'ltirdi. Biz o'sha daraxt kesamiz. Bizdagi bor daraxt 10 milliard chiqar balki. Biz demak yana 10 milliard ekishimiz kerak. Shunda biz iqlimni saqlaymiz, shu suvimizni saqlaymiz. Men o'zim bilasan, o'ylayman, O'zbekistonda juda keskin shu 30 yildan rivojlana olmagan. Biz o'zimiz boy davlatda neftimiz bor, gazimiz bor, paxtamiz bor, g'allamiz bor, uran bor, kumush bor. Shu bor yuramizda. Biz ortiqni rivojlantirish, buni rivojlantirib mana hozirdagi suvni tejash texnologiyalari. Menga keyin yoqdi mana oftobdan foydalanish. Bugüngi ko'rsanglar arab davlatlari bizga namuna bo'ladi. Biz bu boyligimizni kibrga yo'ymasdan yo'q deb turishimiz kerak. Mana Isroilni mo'jizasi qiladi, Saudiyani ham deyman. Ular yo'q ishlarsa yo'q bo'lsa odam uyg'onadi. Biz hali ham uyqudamiz. Men rahmat aytaman, O'zbekiston prezidentining juda ajoyib g'oyasi 3-Renessans. 3-Renessans nima degani? Uyg'onish degani, tiklanish degani. Biz bugun o'sha paxta g'allamizni buni yo'q deb tushunishimiz kerak. Shu bor yo'q pulimiz, kapitalimizni ularni bazasida boshqa narsaga rivojlantirishimiz kerak. Mana masalan, men o'zim sohamga aytaman. Aytaylik, bugun biz telekanallarimiz nima beryapmiz? Serial beradi, kino beradi, shoular beradi, to'q shoular beradi. Oilaviy masalalar bugun jamiyatga kiryapti. Ikkita erkak xotin o'rtasidagi masalalar hammaga qiziq. Lekin men kam ko'ramanki, biz ko'rsatuvlar telekanallarimizni men o'zimiz nodavatdan nazorat qilyapman. Shu assotsiatsiya rahbariman. Shu seriallardan, shu kinolardan, shu har xil san'atkorlar ishtirokidagi, shoular ishtirokidagi tashqari ximiya to'g'risidagi 20 daqiqalik ko'rsatuv. Fizika to'g'risidagi bolalar uchun 25 minutlik ko'rsatuv. Matematika, mana hozir yonimizda matematika instituti. Bizdan xorazmiylar chiqqan, bizdan Ibn Sinolar chiqqan. Lekin bugun ma'lumotki medianing yana bitta vazifasi bu ular mana shu narsaga yordam berish. Lekin qanaqa qilib? Ular xususiy, ular soliq to'laydi, ular biznes. Bu yerda faqat o'zi qilolmaydi bu narsani. Bunga ularga yordam kerak, homiy kerak. Men hurmatli vazirimizga Ibrohim Yo'lchiyevichga ko'p gapirganman, o'zimning do'stim va ma'lumotlar bizni baxtimiz mana shunday yosh, iqtidorli akademik olim shu vazirlik boshqaryapti. Vazirlik juda yaxshi ketyapti, bilasizlar. Biz Markaziy Osiyoda shu vazirlik faoliyati eng yuqori baholangan. Ibrohim Yo'lchiyevich bilan biz gaplashdik. Keling, bizda Renessans degan kanal bor. O'tganimiz boshlab nomi ham Renessans. Ishlar ham chiroyli nomda. Hali tijoriy nom emas, boshqa Renessansga xizmat qilish. Keyin aytdimki, keling, mana bu yosh bolalar suvning ushbu xususiyatini bilmaydi. Bilasizlar, gaz sifat bo'ladi, muz sifat bo'ladi, suyuqlik sifat bo'ladi. To'g'ri? Men o'zim yaqinda ko'chamda 20 yil archam o'stirib toptirganim yosh bola keldi. Deodorant bo'ladi shu odamlar. Nimasini? Yaxshilik qilgan. Deodorant olgan, qarasa tegir deodorantda yoqish mumkin emas degan belgi bor. Olinadi. Lekin bolaning teskarisini qiladi, to'g'ri? Shu bolaning ham o'rtoqlik fizkultura darsiga borgan, fizkultura darsidan keyin tanasiga sepish olgan. Shuni olib, qo'lida yoqgan. Qarasa, navoda shuni baxtli qarangki, bu yaramas. Yog'dirga oldi, zashkalga qilgan, yoqadi. Shuni bosib turib, shuni yoqdi. Bu mani archam yonida bor. Archam yoz uyilgan issiq bo'ldi. Archam o'rtasi quruq turgan bo'lgan. O'rtasi va archada bilasizlar efir moylari bor. Archa. Shu yoqganda ushlab turganda bir daqiqa gap yonadimi? Va odamlar bekitish uchun ko'chadan o'tirib archaga qarab yoqdi. Archa quvvat yonib ketdi. 30 yilga archa. 50 ta archa bir-biriga tiqab ekilgan. Mana men oyoqimga aytdim, 3 daqiqaning ichida 10 ta archa yonib ketdi. Tepada sim o'tgan. Sim uzib boladan boshqa tushishni boshlagan. Kamerada bo'lgan, katta 380 volt kuchlarning ichidagi tok bo'lgan. Bu nimadan bolalarimiz o'sha kimiyani bilmaydi. Bolalarimiz fizikani bilmaydi. Bolalarimiz velosiped boshqada minganda o'sha yoki yer yengish o'g'illarimiz mana ko'rasizlar juda ko'p avariyalar bo'ladi. Chorrahani geometrik kesib chiqishni bilmaydi. To'g'rimi? Ikkinchisi ham bolalarimiz bilmaydi, basseynga qarab cho'milish kerak. Tomdan yugurib tushadi, o'rtalikda masofa ma'qul bilan nobud bo'ladi. To'g'rimi? Bu nimadan? Bu bitta bizani muammo emas, bu bugun dunyoni yoshlari. Men o'ylaymanki, bugun mana shu nodavlat kanallarimizni biz ilgari biz yoshligimizda mana katta avlod darsda kelganimizda darslar bo'ladi televizorda esinglarda fizika, ximiya, botanika, boshqa o'qituvchilar dars o'tadi. Yo'q, chunki bola hamma narsani ham dars maktabda o'zlashtira olmaydi. Va hamma ota-ona ham bolaga dars tushuntira olmaydi. Hozir masalan o'rtacha ota-onaga bozorda dars o'tadigan yoki otasi shofyor bo'lgan kesida ota bola nimaga kechqurun 8. Yash maysa nimaga yashil? Avtobus nimaga qizil? Suv nimaga nima? Shaffof javob bera olmaydi. Lekin bunga javob berish uchun bunga maktabdan tashqari shu qiziqarli ko'rsatuvlar. Mayli, 15-20 daqiqa. Mana menga yoqadi, Rossiyada yaxshi ko'rsatuv bor, 12-13 soat. To'g'rimi? Juda aqlli ko'rsatuv. Yana ko'p ko'raman, haligi Discovery kanali. Bu yerda yaxshi narsalar beriladi. Men bugun tarafdormanki, va buni sizlarni chaqiryapman, hurmatli lektorlar, prorektorlar ko'rib turibman. Bunga ozgina byudjet kerak. Agar davlatni vazirliklari, ya'ni o'qituvchilar, menga yoqdi bizga maktabgacha ta'lim vazirligi, biz maktabgacha ta'limdan boshlash kerak. Chunki bilasizlar, ota-bobasi kelganda tarbiyani qachon boshlash kerak bolada, tug'ildi chaqaloqsa, onani qornidan degan, esinglarda. Shuning uchun bugun kelinglar, mayli, onani qornida o'zini ishi bo'ldi. Maktabgacha ta'limdan boshlaydi. Ya'ni 6 yoshgacha, 7 yoshgacha bola nima bilish kerak? Ikkinchisi keling, oliy ta'limda xalq ta'limiga beraylik shu ko'rsatuv. Uchinchisi maktabgacha ta'lim, oliy ta'lim, biz ishlaydigan tizim hammamiz. Ya'ni maktabgacha ta'lim 5 ta ko'rsatuv buyurtma bersin. Xalq ta'limi yana 5-6 ko'rsatuv olsin, kimyo, fizika va oliy ta'lim. Ani keyin bola o'zi tanlasin. Bo'ldi. Akademiya nauka ishlaydi, mana hozir я сказали, что Беларусь академия наук 15 человек применяет очень приятно. И такие хорошие показатели и с молоком, и с сыром, и со всеми, и маслом, да, мы очень любим белорусские продукты, нам очень нравятся, они вкусные. Biz ham shu narsani yetishmayapti, da. Endi bu narsani qilish uchun albatta ilm kerak, albatta buning uchun yoshlarda motivatsiya bo'lishi kerak. Men doim aytaman, buning uchun akademik, men Turkiyaga bordim, Turkiyada ota-onasini sendek gaplashgan. Nasılsan, iyi misin? Ota deydi, onasi lekin ustozini, maktabda ustoz, hocam deydi. Sizlar gapiradi. Sizlikdi. Turkiyada rektor juda katta odam. Juda ham katta odam. Uni boshlasini politsiya to'xtatib, raqamlari ham 34 Istanbul nomeri. 3A001. Bu juda katta mafriq. Chunki Mustafa Kamolov Turkiyaga, Turkiyaning kelajak ta'limdir. Biz bobomiz Imom Buxoriy aytgan, ilmdan boshqa najot yo'q. Qarang, ilmdan boshqa najot yo'q. Bu dinda ham, hayotda ham, amaliyotda ham. Bugün ma'lumotga mana hozir vakillardan ham boshlab qo'ydim. Ko'p ikkitasi ichki rektorga ta'tildan keldi. Masalan, rektor boshlasini hamma bilish kerak. Domlar boshlasini bilish kerak. Bolalarimiz bugun kechirasiz biznesmen bo'lishga, mafiya bo'lishga, yo qo'laqalamdar bo'lishga, yo kim deymiz? Kim bo'lishga intiladi? Prokuror bo'lishga emas, olim bo'lishga. Bilimli odam, chunki u yaxshi yashash kerak. Mana men hozir tasavvur qildim, shu olim odam uydagi daromadi yaxshi bo'lishi kerak, oilasini yaxshi boqish kerak va jamiyatda, mahallada hamma ko'rganda aytish kerak. Men ilgari O'zbekiston maktablarida muallim uyi alohida bo'lgan, chiroyli bo'lgan, hamma bolasi o'qituvchi bo'lishni xohlagan. Bir to'g'ri bo'ldi, traktoristlar ko'p bo'lganda, kerak bo'lgan traktoristlar to'rgachilar. Bugun har bir davraga borganda olim odam to'rgachish kerak, lekin uning uchun uni bilimi bo'lishi kerak. Bu mana bizda ko'p 25 yil bo'ldi, qoraxo'rlik bo'ldi. O'qishga kirish 30-50 dollargacha bo'ldi. Mana prezidentimizga rahmat, yo'q shu narsa. Bu sekin qaytadi. Nimaga prezidentimiz aytadi? O'qituvchining maoshi 1000 dollar bo'lsin. Nimaga prezidentimiz aytadi? Renessans qilaylik. Bu shunga qaytish. Lekin biz o'zimiz mana intervyularimizda ko'chada renessans bo'lsak, o'zbek aytganda holva deganni olishni bo'lmaydi. Olish tushunmaydi. Keling bugun mana shu bugun ichimdagi bir doim aytaman. To'rtta aytyapman, byudjetda pul yo'q deb boshqa yo'q deb. To'rtta vazirlikka men taklif. Bu maktabgacha ta'lim, xalq ta'limi, oliy ta'lim va innovatsiya vazirligi. Innovatsiya hali esimdan chiqdi, uzun. Innovatsiya ham mana biz olimlar, mana hozir juda qiziqarli mavzu bor, lekin bu mavzudan faqat doim ko'rish kerak. Mazmunlar ispat etaman va bilasizlar, Respublika asoschisi sifatida biz murakkab narsalar, siyosiy bo'ladi, iqtisodiy bo'ladi, fizika, kimyo, odamlar hammasini intellekt IQ'siz qilamiz degan emas. Bu aybi emas, bu kerak emas. Bu bozorda chorsuda masalan qonun sotadi. Bu do'konda ishlaydi, bu keyin shofyor, taksist, kim deymiz yani, mexanizator, yoki oddiy ishchi. Biz bugun kimyo, fizika, algebra, matematika, tarix to'g'risida, jadidchiligimiz to'g'risida hamma tushunadigan jaylardagi ilmiy ommabop ko'rsatuvlar. Ilgari bo'lgan bu ko'rsatuv. O'rtada hamma narsa tijoriylashib ketdi, televideniya tijoriylashib ketdi. Bizni televideniya buni qilolmaydi, chunki bizni televideniya davlat televideniyasidan tashqari soliq to'laydi, oylik beradi. Va bu ular uchun biznes. Bu ular cho'ntakdan qilsa, ular uchun juda katta ma'rifat paydo bo'lishi. Avlodli bo'lishi kerak, Abdulla Qodiriy bo'lishi kerak. Deb ular yo'q. Boramiz. Tushunyapsizlarmi? Shuning uchun mayli boshqa bo'lgan gapim, media universiteti rektor sifatida aytaman. Biz qo'ldan kelgancha harakat qilyapmiz. Biz mana har jurnalist boshqa, bolalar o'rtadan O'zbekistonning arti, tarix, san'at, tinchlik, travel jurnalistik boshqa. Bu qilamiz. Odamni qonimiz. Bu domla dars berish. Va bu jamiyatimiz muammosi, chunki bizda 20-25 yil bor. To'g'rilik to'g'ri. Endi bugun mana boshlandi, mana shu konferensiyalarni ko'p bo'lishini juda xohlayman. Yonda mana yana ko'rgazma bor ekan. Avtobus havo parkida ko'ramiz. Va mana shu olimlarga katta rahmat aytaman. Belorussiyadan kelishdi, Rossiyadan mana katta rahmat, Saudiya Arabistonidan kelishgan. O'zimiz respublika universitetiga rahmat, mana rektorlarning ishi bor. Kelib o'tirib, biz mana shu to'g'risida fikrlashdik, muammolarni aniqlasak va oldinga qarab intilsak yaxshi bo'ladi. Mana o'zim tamoyilim bor, bilasizlar, yuritsiyada bo'lgan bo'lib tashla va boshqarib. Va biz shunday ko'p boshqardik. Bugun undan ko'ra yaxshisi bor, birlashtirib va yig'adi. Если Гай Цезарь говорил, разделяй власть, я думаю, что сегодня более актуально объединяй и направляй. Мы все должны объединиться, направиться к одной цели и работать. Потому что нам предстоит еще очень много работы. И в мире очень серьезная конкуренция сегодня за ресурсы, за интеллект, за продовольственную безопасность. Мы видим, что происходит в мире, какие события происходят. И очень много теперь будет зависеть от нас. Я думаю, что Узбекистан тоже из этой ситуации должен делать свои выводы. И мы делаем это. И при этом укрепляем свою мощь во всех отношениях. И в этой базе должна быть наука, инновации и современные технологии. Мы не должны останавливаться ни на чем, не довольствоваться тем, что мы очень богаты, что мы действительно богаты, что у нас все есть. Наоборот, у нас должен быть, вот, есть китайский язык, когда говорим о кризисе, есть два, там, я плохо знаю, господин президент знает, два героя, да? Один из них говорит, это возможность, абсолютно правильно, возможность. Talabalarga aytamanda, kambag'allik deyman, bolam. Hammamiz boshimiz og'riydi. Men biz kartoshka olib yegan paytim. Uyimizda go'sht bo'lmagan payt. Bu normal holat. Masalan, har to'q boshqa bo'lmaydi. Bo'lmasa to'q oila qurgansa, hayotda nima narsa bo'ladi? Shuning uchun aytaman, kambag'allik buyuk kashfiyotlar va imkoniyatlar enasi deyman. Tushunsiz? Buyuk kashfiyotlar emas. Bu hech qanday iqtidor. Odam och bo'lsa, bilasiz, uyg'onadi. Och bo'lsa, ko'chaga chiqib keladi. Endi muttaham odamlarimiz gadoylik qiladi. Lekin gadoylik shu birinchi eshikdan o'tguncha. Aqli bo'lsa, boshqa bo'lsa, mana Ramazon Kruzov kimsasiz orolga borganimda ko'ring. Menga yoqadi shu Yevarning muzikasi qo'yilgan, o'sha o'stirish boshqa bilimlar odam qaysisi bor. Bizda ham bugun o'zimiz masalan, men o'zimga har kuni Ramazon Kruzov his qilaman, yerga yangi universitet qurdik, noldan boshlab, binoyimiz yo'q, hech narsamiz yo'q, auditoriyamiz yo'q. Hozirgacha aholi yashaydigan majburamiz, bizga nisbatan qilayotgan ishlarimiz ba'zi yoqmaydi. Keyin aytaman, biz Isroil Falastin hududida o'tirganda o'tiramiz. Korrupsiya tuzgan o'chirildi, odam kelsa mashinaga yo'qadi deydi, chiqib bir-birimiz bilan konflikt qiladi, lekin bu bizani to'xtatmaydi. Hududimiz kam, yana yangi imorot quramiz. Hududimiz kam, boshqa yo'llarni quramiz. Va shu ritmda 5 yil ishlashga o'rgandik. Agar hammasi zo'r bo'lganda, 50 gektar hududim bo'lganda, ularga odam esa sovuqdan o'lib qish keldi. Shuning uchun aziz olimlar, masalan, bitta iltimosim bor. Kelinglar, ko'p ilm qilyapsizlar, ko'p nauka qilyapsizlar. Uni ikkinchi jihati bor, bilasizlar, prikladnoy, har bir narsani naukada prikladnoy bo'lishi kerak. Shu mediada qanaqa yordirish kerak. Mediada biz keyingi avlodga qanaqa berish. Biz hammamiz akademik cho'ponlikka yursakda bolalarimiz ertaga yalang'oyoq bo'lsin degan. Biz bugun o'ylashimiz kerak, qanday qilib bizning loyihalarimiz Biz innovatsiyalarimizni biz Telegram orqali, katta Telegram orqali oddiy aholiga yetkazamiz. Odamlarni uyiga qanaqa kiramiz? Bilasizmi, mana shu o'qituvchini bolasi yoki o'sha kompaniyachini bolasi yoki oddiy taksistni bolasi ko'pincha aqlliroq bo'ladi, to'q bola olasiz. Chunki uni ish narsasi keladi, u intiladi. U ham oq mashina yurgisi keladi, qora mashina yurgisi keladi. Bu ham yaxshi kiyingisi keladi, bu ham Yevropaga, Turkiyaga borgisi keladi. Unda qaytanga ichidagi shu biroz ochlik fenomeni buni harakatga soladi. Unga nima kerak? Ozgina yordam kerak. Bu hammamiz akademik bilan gaplashamiz, buning uchun Telegramda. O'shaning uchun suvni tushuntirib berishimiz kerak, havoni tushuntirib berishimiz kerak, fizika, kimyoni tushuntirib berishimiz kerak. Va sizlar iltimos shu bejizlik chiqsa, shunga yordam beringlar. Mana hamkasblarni qo'llab-quvvatlayman. Katta rahmat, savol-javob bo'lsa, keyin o'tirib javob beramiz. Rahmat.
Rahmat Sho'roxonga, vatanimiz, xalqimiz uchun eng dolzarb mavzularni yozib berganlar. Rahmat. Hurmatli ishtirokchilar, agarda savollar bo'lsa, marhamat, spikerlarimizga. Agarda savollar bo'lmagan bo'lsa, mana ko'rib breakimiz tashkil etilgan, o'sha ko'rib break doirasida bemalol suhbatlashib olsak bo'ladi. Lekin tadbirimizni yakunlashdan avval vazirimiz Ibrohim Yo'lchiyev tomonidan ishtirokchilarga, xorijiy ishtirokchilarga tashakkurnoma bordi, ko'rsatmalar taqdim qilsak. Rahmat.
Assalomu alaykum, debatchi fikrlarimizni topshiramiz. Saudiya Arabistonining Qirol Abdulloh nomidagi fan va texnologiya universiteti prezidenti, professor Chan Tonifan Cheo. Saudiya Arabistonining Qirol Abdulloh nomidagi fan va texnologiya universiteti rektori o'rinbosari, doktor Sergey Lavrajanov. Shveysariyaning O'zbekistondagi elchixonasi maslahatchisi Aleksandr Charev. Ozarbayjon Milliy fanlar akademiyasi Markaziy ilmiy kutubxonasi bosh direktori Aliyev Mamedaliyev Otibolov. Ozarbayjon Milliy fanlar akademiyasi Markaziy ilmiy kutubxonasi xalqaro aloqalar bo'limi boshlig'i Mubaris Yushlu. Belorussiya Milliy fanlar akademiyasi matematika, informatika va fizika kafedrasi akademik kotibi Shumuli Aleksandr Gennadievich. Belorussiya Milliy fanlar akademiyasi fizika kafedrasi ilmiy kotibi akademik Shevakov Sergey Sergeyevich. Belorussiya Milliy fanlar akademiyasining rektori Zhelinskiy Marat Gennadievich. Toshkent shahridagi Xalqaro Vestminster universiteti rektori Mirkasimov Bakrom Ravshanovich. O'zbekiston jurnalistika va ommaviy kommunikatsiyalar universiteti rektori Sherzodxon Xudoyxo'ja Tajibov.
Rahmat aziz ishtirokchilar. Demak, so'nggi bir iltimosimiz bo'ladi, o'qituvchilar bilan umumiy fotosuratga tushib olsak, keyin esa ko'chib o'tishga vaqt qilamiz.